December 1988. It's the end of, almost the end of my time in California. It's my last full year stationed in California. What memories, the places I went, the concerts I saw. I actually saw some good concerts in California. What did I see? I saw Rush, the Scorpions, that Australian band whose name I can't remember right now. And the Bears. That's the Adrian Belew headed band. Went all sorts of places. Modesto and Los Angeles, Santa Barbara. Loved going to Santa Barbara. But it's almost coming to a close. I leave in 1989. Where am I going to go? Well, you'll find out eventually. Anyway, this is about books, not about reminiscing. It's about reminiscing about books. So let's get to it. What did I read in December of 1988? Well, I started with The Ceremonies by T.E.D. Klein. This, in 2017, was finally reprinted. This has been sort of a white whale for a lot of people. And I have to grab my little notebook here. Let's see. So basically, Ceremonies, you've got a guy named Jeremy Frears. Not sure how you say his name. Seems to be a college student. Because for the summer, he moves to Gilead, New Jersey, to do some reading for a class. And it's a small community with some interesting people living there and a dark secret, and certain ancient rites might be enacted to possibly create havoc in the world. I mean, it's called Ceremonies. Come on, people. I believe this was his debut novel, award-winning. It's good stuff. And since I just found out that there's a new edition and I don't have a copy, I'm going to grab it from Amazon. Because it is good. I highly recommend T.E.D. Klein if you can get your hands on some of his stuff. Next up, we have Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. Not sure how to pronounce it. This is a translation by Stephen Mitchell that I read. And of course, this is The Way, the ancient Taoist guide. And I've read this a number of times. This is probably the first time, but it's going to come up again on this list. And it's a book of Eastern philosophy, how to live your life with balance and purpose. And it's just as relevant today, I would say, as it was way, way back when it was written, back in the ancient times, in the before times. It's a classic. It's good stuff. Next, we have Once on a Time by A.A. Milne. That's the author of Winnie the Pooh stuff, for those who don't know. This is an adult fairy tale, and it's basically typical fairy tale stuff. You know, witches and princesses and people turning into animals and things. I love the Winnie the Pooh stuff. I think some of that's going to come up here eventually, because I reread some Winnie the Pooh at this point, but in my life. But this one was not for kids. I mean, it's not like pornographic or anything, but it's not a simple kid's tale. Just a nice fantasy for adults. Let's see. Book number 4, Golf in the Kingdom by Michael Murphy. And this is essentially a look at philosophy through golf, or golf through philosophy. I guess depends on how you look at it. It's this guy goes to Scotland, I think, and plays a round of golf with a weird guy helping him and teaching him philosophy, changing his life. I don't know. I assume I read this because it was recommended by Dennis O'Neill in the back of an issue of The Question. You'll notice, actually out of 7 books, 4 of them are nonfiction, and 3 of them are philosophy. So I guess the fourth, depending on how you look at it, could also be philosophy. But anyway, Golf in the Kingdom, interesting book. I'm not interested in golf at all, but I am interested in philosophy. So there you go. Next up, Heart of the Country by Greg Matthews. This is a Western. It's about a guy named Joe Cobden, who is half Native American, half Caucasian. His mother dies in childbirth. His father doesn't care about him. He's raised by a doctor's wife who doesn't really like him because he's a half-breed. And he's got a bent spine. And he grows up and becomes a famous buffalo hunter. It takes place in the 1870s. Looking at my notes. So it's not what a lot of people, I think of when they hear Western. It's not just gunfights and people saving the homestead. It's a story about this character that takes place in the Old West. Next, Zen in the Martial Arts by Joe Hyams. If that's how you say his name. See? More philosophy. Again, philosophy through the lens of martial arts, or is it martial arts through the lens of philosophy? Either way, I did study Taekwondo for a short time before I went into the Air Force. And so interested in martial arts, interested in philosophy. Again, probably recommended by Denny O'Neil, but I think this was good stuff. And finally, we have The Power of Myth by Joseph Campbell with Bill Moyers. Fantastic book. And it's a transcript, essentially, of, I think it was a PBS TV show where Bill Moyers interviews Joseph Campbell. This and The Hero with a Thousand Faces, I think is what it's called, are probably Joseph Campbell's most well-known books. And in this one, he talks about, myths and the power they have over people, how they're formed, how they inform us. The whole Hero with a Thousand Faces thing is, I think, touched on in here, if I remember correctly. Which is, essentially it's that kind of, there are only a certain number of stories that are just being retold over and over again. And he talks about the same thing in myths. You have certain figures that just take on different faces depending on when and where the stories are being told. Fantastic book. When I went to Bowling Green, I took a fantasy literature class, and this was the one nonfiction book that we had to read. I don't remember if I read it again at that time. We'll find out together when we get to that point in this list, if it shows up again. But it is a fantastic book. So that's it. That's all I read in December of 1988. We've got a horror book, a Western, an adult fantasy book by the author of Winnie the Pooh, and then philosophy out the yin-yang. No pun intended. So some good stuff here. A lot of good stuff. As I said, I'm going to pick up a new copy of Ceremonies. I probably should have The Power of Myth. I should have a copy of that. Some of these others, I can't own everything. But I think they're all worth reading. So there you go. That's what I've got for you. So I guess if you have any comments, questions, or corrections, put them in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe if you want to follow me on social media. My Twitter is @Ronin5757. My Instagram is ErikSmith5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH 5757. I'm going to try to say that faster and faster every time. All right, that's it. So until next time, read more books.